Hey everybody, this is David Schooley with the Big John MMA Fight Club. I'm talking to Mr. Big John McCarthy. How you doing, John?
As good as can be.
Right on. Hey, you know what? It's always good when you're not the one in the fights, but you're there to check it out, right?
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, let's talk about some rings that we don't want to step in, and that's a ring with all of these big guys in here. So let's talk about UFC Fight Night. We're talking Hunt versus Bigfoot. This is Friday, December 6th. Mark Hunt, Antonio Silva. These two big guys have got, some amazing skills, some amazing power. We've seen them both in some serious battles. Tell me what you think about where they're coming in on this matchup.
Well, they're both coming in off of losses.
Yeah.
And this is something, if you look at the matchmaking of Joe Silva, he does this a lot. He'll take two guys, they're coming off of losses. He wants one guy to get back on the winning streak, and so he's going to put, those two guys together, and it's a good concept, and it's worked out well for him and for the UFC. So you look at the loss of each of these guys and who they fought and how they lost, a little bit different. Bigfoot coming off a loss to the champion, Cain Velasquez.
Right.
He got a shot at the title. He had the big win against Overeem, and that's what got him the second chance. He had the first fight with Cain where he got cut, and the fight ended up getting to the point where he couldn't see and it got stopped. But his showing against Cain, and there's nothing against him, was not what he wanted. It wasn't the fight that he wanted it to be. He got hurt with a punch. He wasn't able to recover, and that can happen to anyone. So not the way you want to come out of that fight. Mark Hunt, a long, drawn-out, good fight against Junior Dos Santos.
Right.
Both causing a lot of damage. Dos Santos ending it off with that beautiful head kick that kind of bounced off him and came in and finished the fight. Mark, at that point after that, ended up having a big staph infection, had this nasty, hole in his leg that he had to take care of for a while. And so the real question for me is, how are they both going to be mentally coming into the fight off of their last fights? They need to get rid of all that trash that happened before. It's a new day, it's a new fight, and just go out and be who you can be. And how has Mark Hunt recovered from that staph infection? Hopefully, it's long gone, and I'm sure it is, and that's why he's back in there training. But Mark is a guy, huge power. He's got big power, and he's got a huge chin in the fact that he can take damage and continue to move forward.
Take it while dishing it out, yeah.
His real weak spot is always going to be his ground game. When someone can put him on his back, not that he's not good at defending. He does a good job of defending a lot of times. But if you're going to say, where's his weakness? Well, his weakness is going to be on the ground. Bigfoot, god dang, he is that big. He's a big guy, man. Huge head, huge hands, right. Big feet, big body. Going to be 285, 90 pounds by the time the fight it rolls around. And he's got good speed. He's got good stand-up. He's got good skills. But he's going to want to take this fight to the ground, because if he ends up getting into a prolonged stand-up match with Mark Hunt, he's playing into the favors of Mark Hunt. Right. You don't want to play another man's game. You want to take this fight to the ground and work what he does very well, because Bigfoot is good on the ground. Right. He's got very good jiu-jitsu. He's got good body positioning, and he is heavy. Yeah. He's got heavy hips. You can't move him. It's hard to, just the movement of trying to, switch positions and try to keep yourself safe causes you to burn a lot of energy just due to the size of the guy.
Absolutely.
He can put Mark Hunt in a lot of trouble by putting him on his back.
Yeah, agreed. It's funny. You always think about when these guys are coming in off of a loss. There's, it seems obvious, but there's two ways that they can handle this. They can either come in just with massive ambition, like I am gonna kill this next person because I am not gonna lose again, or it plays with their heads and they somehow let it get to them and they come in, not quite mentally prepared. So you always wonder how that's gonna be. So I definitely agree with you. It's gonna, how they're coming in mentally is gonna play a big role, but it should be a great fight for the fans nonetheless.
It definitely should be.
So let's talk about the next one on the card. Maruicio Rua, love this guy. James TeHuna, love this guy too. Similar records. They've both been around a while. They're both definitely very skilled. Tell us a little bit about your insight on these guys.
Well, again, both of them coming off of losses. Shogun's coming off a loss to Chael Sonnen. He got caught in a guillotine choke.
Yep.
And made a mistake. We can all make the mistake. And you know what? You get caught in the mistake, you're going to lose the fight. And James TeHuna is coming off of a loss to Glover Teixeira.
Right.
Got into a position where Glover is very good on the ground, gets sinks in a nice choke. Hey, happens. What you need to do is go back and look and say, where did I make that mistake, and how do I keep that mistake from happening again? And okay, it's over. I learned from it. Let me go out and compete to the best of my ability, and don't worry about wins, losses like that. Let me just go do what I can do and do it to the best of my ability. If I do that, I'm going to come out with a win most of the time. That's what both fighters need to do.
Right.
Physically, James TeHuna is the stronger fighter of the two. Technically, Shogun is the more technical fighter of the two.
Agreed. Yeah.
You look at the real difference here again. If you look at the level of competition that both guys have competed against, there's no doubt that Shogun has competed at a higher level for a longer amount of time than TeHuna. But the question is, has a lot of those fights started to degrade Mauricio? You never know when that time is, but you'll see it eventually. And is it that the mistake that he made against Chael partly due to he's starting to slip a little bit? I don't think so,
right.
But it's something you always got to look at. TeHuna he's Australian. He's going to be in his backyard. He wants to perform well. He is up against probably one of the biggest challenges he's ever been against. And so how's that going to play in his head? He's going against a guy that he used to watch and admire all the time. No matter what he wants to say, everyone admired the way that Shogun fought. So
absolutely,
this is a great matchup. Probably the hardest fight that James TeHuna has ever had.
Nice. Well, let's move on. I want to talk about a couple more. There's some great matchups here. You've got Pat Barry against Palelli. We've got Dylan Andrews versus Clint Hester. Ryan Bader versus Anthony Perosh. I mean, give us a little bit of insight on a couple of these matchups. Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, let's see. When it comes to Pat Barry against Soa Palelli, I guarantee it's not going the distance.
Right. Oh, there's no doubt there. Someone's going down.
Someone is going to sleep. And Soa, I've done he's a big guy. He's got heavy hands. He does hit hard. Pat Barry has probably the heaviest leg kicks of any fighter in the heavyweight division right now. The dude can throw a leg kick like nobody else there is. He puts an incredible amount of power behind it. The real question here is both are coming in with different frames, and
right.
Pat Barry's just not as big a guy as Soa, and so he needs to keep this fight in a position where he's not letting Soa put his weight on him.
Sure. 5'11", we got 6'4", right?
Yeah. Pat gets that weight that he has to carry that weight. That's going to start to degrade him in the fight. Pat needs to keep this thing from the outside, be smart in the way he does it. He's much faster than Soa. Use that speed, use movement, use those kicks to chop him down and to make him a very short fighter. That's the way for Pat Barry to win. For Soa needs to be smart. He needs to actually move towards Pat and crowd Pat, get him, use that weight, and use those heavy punches. That's going to be his way of winning it.
Yep.
So good fight between the two. It's interesting.
For sure. Let's see. Bader and Perosh. What do you think there, man?
Ryan Bader and Perosh, good fight. Perosh is one of those guys that people look at and they don't give credit to.
Right.
They don't give him credit for being a good fighter, for being a tough guy. He's a super tough guy. This is one of those, you hear about the tough blokes from Australia.
Yeah.
First picture that comes up is Anthony Perosh. He's just that guy that, he's had those fights where, he's gone in there and, got knocked out, 7 seconds into it. He did that against Ryan Jimmo. It can happen. It can happen to anybody. But he's also been in wars. They brought him in to fight Krokop when, they couldn't find someone for him, and he put on a battle, went after him. He ends up, winning all these fights that people don't give him credit for. The guy can fight. The real question here, Bader, absolutely the better wrestler by far, no doubt about it. Better athlete, no doubt about it. Perosh, better jiu-jitsu guy, better submission guy, no doubt about that. And that the man has got heart.
Right.
It's hard to go against a guy with a lot of heart.
It's that factor.
Oh, he's going to be there in the end. No doubt Ryan Bader can beat him in this fight. He can, come away with the win. He's got good stand-up. He's got heavy hands. He hits hard. He's got great wrestling. But he's going to have to get through that heart. And sometimes heart is a bitch to get rid of.
Yeah. That's Griffin. Come on. Bonner, all those guys. Those are heart fighters, It's tough.
It is.
Yeah. So let's do one more really quick. I mean, we've got Dylan Andrews and Clint Hester. Awesome matchup. Nick Ring against Magalis. I mean, pick one. Let's talk about those real quick.
Well, let's talk about the matchup of Hester against, Dylan is, that comes out of the Ultimate Fighter series.
Yeah.
Both these guys are on it. Clint Hester is a guy, he's got really good athletic ability. He's a strong stand-up guy. His ground game is his weakness. Dylan comes, from New Zealand. Really impressed me and impressed a lot of people with his calmness, his ability to listen during the fight, to be able to actually do the things that he needs to do that are slow and sometimes not flashy, but he does a great job as far as keeping his head in the right place, taking guys down at times, putting pressure on them, and slowly wearing them out. This is, to me, the fight is just that difference of Clint Hester is the guy, he's the athlete. He's the guy that's, the fast guy, the strong hitter.
Right,
he's
right.
a lot of people are going to pick just based upon, he's the thoroughbred. And Dylan is the guy, he's the workhorse, man. He's the quarter horse.
Right.
He's the guy that's going to be there and is going to, be making the rounds, doing all the work and putting in the time and slowly degrading, Clint Hester if he can to the point where he gets that win.
See, I love those kind of fights because those are the fights that typically upset, where people think it's going to go one way and then, they can turn around like that because of either the athleticism of the one or just the strategy and the stride of the other. That's awesome fight.
Yep.
So, hey, listen, John, I appreciate all your information. This is a beautiful insight on some really great matchups here. Looking forward to this fight. Again, everybody, this is Friday, December 6th, UFC Fight Night, main card Hunt versus Silva. It's going to be great. For everybody out there, lock in your fight predictions at Big John's MMA Fight Club. And, John, thanks again, man.
It's always a pleasure, David.